Hi, I'm Steve Millhouse, and you're watching for BassPlayersOnly.com.
Hi everyone, John Liebman here. You're watching for BassPlayersOnly.com. Here we are at the Winter NAMM Show 2016 with Steve Millhouse. What's happening, Steve?
Not much, just hanging out, enjoying it.
Yes, it's great to see you and great getting to know you, and I want to hear about you and your musical life and your career. And let's go back to the early days. You're from Arizona, I understand. Tell me about your earliest exposure to music. If you come from a musical family, parents, brothers, sisters, records playing, going to concerts, radio, things like that. Tell me about your musical upbringing.
Okay. My family was not musical at all. Nobody played any instruments. My mom listened to a lot of great music, records and things. And
such as?
Oh, this is all the great singers like Sinatra and on and on and on. All the great singers and big band stuff.
Gotcha.
So when I was in elementary school, they started a band program, and they said, "Okay, you're in 5th grade now. You can join the band." And I said, "Nah, I think I'll pass on that." And then everybody starts leaving, and I said, "Well, wait, what do you do if you don't go to band?" And they said, "You stay in class and do homework." And so then I said, on second thought, I think band's for me. So that's how I started. And it was a pretty small school, and my uncle had played guitar and had tried to teach me a little bit, years before. So I started on guitar. It wasn't the traditional.
Tried to, you said.
Yeah. It was tradition. It wasn't all the traditional band instruments. So they would accept like guitar and drums because it was pretty small. So I played guitar for a couple of years, unsuccessfully, pretty much.
And how did you become a bass player? What attracted you to that instrument?
There was a better band at the school, and they would take trips and get out of class all the time and go to Disneyland, and which I'll probably go to tomorrow, and skip the show. So they would do all these trips and get out of class all the time and go do concerts and things. And so I said, how do I get in that? Because I want to do that. And he said, well, there's a guitar player from the other school that's a lot better than you, so you can play the bass if you want. And I said, that sounds great, I'll take it.
Yeah, what's a bass?
I didn't even know, what it was. So I got the bass and started taking lessons. And then when school was back in session, I started playing in the band on the bass for the first time. And I was like, wow, this is it.
Did that change the way you listen to the radio, listen to records? Did the bass become more prominent in your ear? Did you start listening for specifically the bass?
I did start listening specifically for it, but then I realized that all the music that I had heard that I really liked, like, when I was driving my mom was driving my older sister to school, and I was listening to whatever songs were on the radio, all the tunes that I now remembered I liked were all because they had a great bass bar. So I remember hearing all the Queen stuff, and all the rock stuff like Led Zeppelin that had great bass parts, and those were the ones that I was like, well, now I know why I like those songs. So I always, there's a saying that says the instrument finds you, you don't choose the instrument, So I think in that case, I think it did,
So what about your bass influences? Guys like John Deacon, John Paul Jones for a start? Were there any others that particularly stood out or who you discovered or followed?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Luckily, my teacher was very active in playing as well. He would play like the shows that came through, like the Temptations and the OJs or Gladys Knight or whatever. And so, he was very hip with knowing what was out there. And so he very early on, he gave me a Stanley Clarke record. And so I got into Stanley Clarke a lot.
Which record was it? School Days?
It was
Journey to Love?
Journey to Love.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I, found out about Jocko, and so my mom bought me the Jocko album and then the Weather Report album. So I got really, really into that. It was so heavy, though. I mean, you listen to it and you can only relate to it so much at that point, when you're just kind of getting going. So I had to put it away for a while, and then I'd get it back out over the years till now, and I still appreciate and hear things I never heard the last time. So
let's fast forward a little bit. You're in New York now, and I understand you're pretty deeply ensconced into the whole pit orchestra Broadway show thing, which is a gig that would be coveted by many musicians, many bass players. So that's no small feat. Tell me about that. How did you break into it, and what are some of the shows that you've played?
When I moved to New York about 10 years ago, I knew one bass player that I had gone to school with, and he had moved there to do grad school and had gotten into the show scene and been subbing, and then started getting his own shows, and then decided after about 10 years of it that it wasn't for him, and decided to quit playing entirely and renovate apartments. So I knew him, and so I told him I was coming, and we had stayed in touch over the years, and he knew kind of everybody that was a bass player in the scene. So he gave me some names, and one of his really good friends was on a show, and he had 3 subs. One was moving out of the country, and the other 2 had gotten their own shows. So there was certainly spots to take, and so I learned the show and went in and did it right as soon as I moved there. So I kind of got into the scene right away, and he took off a lot, so I subbed all the time, and I subbed for him at Radio City for the Christmas show that year, the first year, and then he called a lot of other bass players for me too. It's a really good scene of people, really friendly, really open.
It's fun work too. I've done a whole bunch of that. I've always enjoyed it, whether it's upright or electric, and you get exposed. You get to play so many different styles of music and different genres. Let's talk about your equipment a little bit. I know you play Xotic basses. Tell me why you play Xotic. They are great, but tell me what you like about them and why you play them.
What I really like about them is they, to me, are the perfect working bass, because they don't have a particular sound. You don't pick it up and it's all these sound really modern, or it all sounds vintage. You can kind of get anything out of it that you want. So I felt like I could take it and I could sound like me. I mean, they're basically Fender style, basses. So it was maybe the best Fender style bass I could find, that I could pick it up and sound like what I hear. So it was the easiest for me to do that. And they're made really well. You pick it up and it feels like a Fender, and so it's very familiar. So then when I leave the show, when I leave the basses at the show and I have subs come in, they pick it up and it's comfortable for them too. So it's not some odd shaped thing where they have to really try to get used to.
Is that a customary thing, to leave your own bass there, or when you sub, you play the other person's bass?
Yeah, most of the time that's the case. 100% of the time for acoustic bass. Once it's in the pit, it stays there, and you come and play it.
Some of those pits can be pretty challenging to get in and out of with an upright.
Yeah. So, and a lot of times, because the sound department wants to hear the same level and the same sound and everything, and you're supposed to come in and play like the regular player, basically, that you leave it and they come in and play your stuff. So it helps to have something that people pick it up and they're like, wow, this is totally familiar. I can play it no problem. And
interesting.
The preamp is great in it, so you can kind of dial in a lot of different sounds.
Cool. How about the future, Steve? What else do you hope to do in your career? You look like you're still young and have lots of energy and a lot of notes left in you. What's in store for you in the future?
Well, I hope to do some more shows. I don't have my own show currently. I've had 4 shows in the past. So it's always nice to have one of those, because you can go to work every day, or you can sub it out a lot and go do other things and have your own projects. I've been touring the last maybe 5 years off and on with a singer named Ute Lemper.
From Germany, right?
Originally from Germany, yeah. She lives in New York now. And
Steve Millhouse on
it's been
bass.
mostly all out of the country, South America, Australia, Europe, everywhere. And so I hope more of that.
Is that strictly an electric gig, or is that also upright?
It's only upright.
Only upright.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's for the most part.
Isn't it fun to travel with an
I don't travel with an upright. I rent one everywhere I go. So
okay.
it's I just take a suitcase, and it's a wonderful thing. Yeah. But I do take actually a preamp, the same preamp that's in the Xotic basses.
Yeah.
And I plug in whatever bass I get, however good or bad, which mostly not good, into the preamp, and I can always kind of dial in a sound that I'm happy with.
Huh.
So it's like the one thing I travel with that helps the basses.
Interesting. Last question, Steve. What would you be if you were not a bass player? Something outside of music.
I really have no idea. I mean, I've wanted to be a bass player from the time I was,
Ever since you discovered it would get you out of going to school.
Exactly, and it got me out of a lot of things. So a lot of real work. So I don't know really.
That's okay.
I really have no idea.
That's an acceptable answer.
Yeah.
All right. Well, keep doing what you're doing. I hope that things continue for you with Uta and with the Broadway shows and everything else.
I have a couple of my own projects also that I'm starting to do with a bandoneon player that lives in the south of France.
Wow.
He and I are starting a duo where I'll be playing probably mostly acoustic bass, but some electric bass as well. We just commissioned some arrangements to be written for us. And hopefully, like maybe in 2017 season, maybe we'll get out and going once we have enough stuff and do a record also.
Well, you just opened it up for a follow-up interview. We want to hear all about that. Be sure to keep us posted. Steve Millhouse, thanks very much. Much luck and continued success to you always.
Thank you, sir. A pleasure to meet you.
From the 2016 Winter NAMM Show, Anaheim, California, I'm John Liebman with Steve Millhouse. You're watching for BassPlayersOnly.com.